Okay, have you ever stopped to think about what's really running the show inside you? I mean, deep, deep down. Today, we're going to journey to the very core of your cells to uncover an ancient, incredibly powerful engine. An engine that, billions of years ago, completely changed the game for life on Earth. And it's the very reason you can think, move, or even breathe right now. Let's get into it.
So let's just start with a really basic question. The energy you used to even click on this, right? The power that's driving your heartbeat, the fuel for the thoughts that are literally running through your head right this second, where does all of that come from? Well, the answer is way smaller and, honestly, way more incredible than you probably imagine.
And here's the answer: mitochondria. Now, you've probably heard them called the powerhouses of the cell, and, it's not just a catchy name, it's the perfect description. These tiny little structures are the factories that take the food you eat and turn it into the fundamental energy currency of all life.
And when I say tiny, I don't mean they're insignificant. They are everywhere. A single cell in your liver can be packed with up to 2,000 of them. They can take up a fifth of the entire cell's volume. Just wrap your head around that. 1/5 of your cell is just dedicated power plants, all working nonstop. But this brings up some even bigger questions.
Yeah, what are these things really? And maybe the more fascinating question is, where in the world did they come from? Because their origin story, wow, it's one of the most amazing tales in all of biology. It's a story about an ancient invasion that somehow turned into the most important alliance in the history of life.
And that brings us to something called the endosymbiotic theory. Now, get ready for this, because it basically says that mitochondria have a secret identity. They weren't originally part of us. Billions of years ago, they were their own thing, free-living, independent organisms.
So the theory goes like this. Way back in the primordial soup, a simple early cell swallowed a much smaller bacterium. And then something totally unexpected happened.
And this image right here, this shows that exact moment. You've got a larger host cell, and it engulfs this little bacterium that happened to be incredibly good at using oxygen to generate energy. But, and this is the crucial part, instead of digesting it, the host cell just kept it. And that was the start of a partnership that would literally change the world. It all went down in about 4 key steps. First, you have the engulfment. Step 2 is survival. The little guy wasn't destroyed. Then came step 3, symbiosis. And this turned out to be a perfect deal. The host cell provided a safe home and plenty of food, and in return, the bacterium just pumped out massive amounts of energy. And finally, over millions and millions of years of evolution, that bacterium became the mitochondrion that we know and love today.
Now, I know this sounds a bit like science fiction, right? But the evidence is literally written all over the mitochondria themselves. For starters, they're about the same size as bacteria, and they divide on their own schedule, separate from the rest of the cell. But here's the real kicker. They have their own separate circular DNA, just like bacteria do. And they even have their own bacterial-like machinery to read that DNA. It's like a genetic ghost of their independent past living right inside us.
So, what happened once this ancient pact was sealed? Well, this wasn't just a minor upgrade. It was an absolute energy revolution that completely rewrote the future of life on this planet.
Let's just look at the raw numbers here, because they're staggering. Before this partnership, a cell could get about 2 units of energy, we call them ATP, from 1 molecule of sugar. 2. But with a mitochondrion doing the heavy lifting, that same sugar molecule now yields around 30 units of ATP. That's a 15-fold increase. It's like going from a single candle to a full-blown nuclear reactor.
And here's the bottom line. That massive energy surplus was the fuel that made complexity itself possible. Without that kind of power, cells would never have had the juice to team up and create big, complicated, multicellular things. Without this one ancient event, there'd be no plants, no animals, and definitely no us.
All right, so we've seen the epic evolutionary story. Now we're going to zoom in. I mean, way in. We're going from billions of years of history down to the molecular level to actually see the engine that this ancient partnership installed inside every one of our cells. And what an engine it is! Nobel laureate Paul Boyer said it perfectly when he called this enzyme ATP synthase one of the most beautiful, unusual, and important things in all of biology. And trust me, when you see what it does, you'll totally get why.
So check this out. On the left, that's the enzyme, ATP synthase. On the right, that's a man-made rotary engine. And this is the mind-blowing part. This isn't just an analogy.
ATP synthase is a literal, physical, spinning rotary motor. Nature invented this incredible piece of molecular machinery billions of years before we ever even dreamed of an engine. It's just incredible.
And it is insanely productive. A single one of these tiny, tiny motors can crank out over 100 molecules of ATP every single second. And remember, you've got thousands of mitochondria in many of your cells, and each one is just jam-packed with these motors. The scale of it all is just, it's hard to even comprehend.
So, how in the world does it work? Well, think of it like a microscopic water wheel at a dam. The mitochondrion creates this powerful flow of protons, that's the water. The ATP synthase sits in that flow and spins like crazy. And as it spins, it literally smashes molecules together to create and store energy in the form of ATP. It turns an electrical current into chemical fuel.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've got this story of an ancient partnership born from an invasion, and we've got this microscopic rotary motor of just breathtaking design. What's the real connection here? Why does this matter?
The connection is, well, it's everything. That ancient partnership, that endosymbiotic event, that was the moment this revolutionary new engine, the ATP synthase inside that little bacterium, got installed into our ancestors. It was the ultimate hardware upgrade for life itself.
And that very same engine design is still running, right now. Trillions upon trillions of them are spinning inside you at this very moment. They are the direct, unbroken legacy of that ancient pact, and they are powering you. Every single thought, every breath, every heartbeat, it's all fueled by these tiny, ancient motors.
So, what's the takeaway from all of this? It's that you are a walking, talking ecosystem, powered by an ancient alliance. And that leaves us with one final kind of profound thought. What are you going to do with all that incredible energy being generated by trillions of tiny motors, all spinning inside you, right this very second?